There's a fascinating tale of how three British men in a shed managed to make one of the greatest rifles in history, the L96A, won by Accuracy International. They stood up against SIG, Remington, and H&K, some of the largest weapon manufacturers at the time, and came out with what would become one of the most legendary rifles ever made. Now, how is this relevant? On December 1st, 2020, during a frosty morning, a game popped onto the Humble Store and Steam marketplace. It was made by three people, Abi Rahmani, Matthew Nguyen, and with the composing talent of Jose Pavley. They make Sector D2 games. The game that they made is Project Wingman. On the surface, Project Wingman looks to be a clone of Ace Combat, and while it takes a lot of inspiration from that series, the game stands out as a well-made homage to the Ace Combat franchise, giving the same visceral feeling that Ace Combat gives, while retaining the core pillars that makes it Ace Combat. It has fun flight physics, a plot that makes little to no sense but adds a little bit of extra spice to the background, and plenty of planes to choose from. Speaking of planes, we should talk about them since that is what the player will be interacting with throughout the game. The first thing you'll notice is the funky name of some of the 23 playable aircraft, and this is for two main reasons. One, Project Wingman is an indie game made by three people, and licensing can get pretty expensive, as some companies enforce strict contracts, and some like Sukhoi will just charge you 3 to 10% royalties just to use the name of the aircraft. Two, these licenses will eventually expire, and when they do, the game legally has to be pulled off of the storefront. This is why games such as Ace Combat Assault Horizon are no longer available to buy on Steam, since the game used licensed aircraft, and this is also a major reason why many remasters and ports of Ace Combat games are limited time additions to the main releases. Further into the hangar menu, we can see that the usual weapons are available, including multi-lock missiles, bombs, and rockets. Each pylon on the aircraft can be loaded with multiple different weapons, meaning that you can have a true multi-role aircraft that you've always dreamed of, or you can load up a frogfoot with several different types of rockets and become an absolute CAS nightmare. There's also an option on some aircraft to change out the flares for something called the AOA limiter. Essentially, think of Mihai from Ace Combat 7. If you've ever wanted to change directions at a 90-degree angle while going Mach speed, you can do that with this equipment, and it's very easy to activate compared to the post-stall maneuvers in Ace Combat 7. For now, however, we are stuck with the legally distinct F4 Phantom Trainer loaded up with a ton of UGBLs to bomb Cordium cargo belonging to the faction known as the Pacific Federation. It is here that we are introduced to our two wingmen that will be with us for the entire game, Peter Diplomat Kennedy and Evelyn Comic London, but there's also a third voice if you have a two-seater aircraft. This is Robin Prez Quo, and I've only known her for about 20 seconds, but I would die for her. She is our Wizzo, and it is refreshing to have her speaking, even with half of the time her just screaming in the background because of the fact that we have a missile locked onto us, or somebody is approaching us. The heads-up display of the game has a very clear and functional look that is familiar but also very distinct with a lot of glows, and the player can adjust the FOV and size of the UI to their own liking, which is something that the million-dollar company still has not figured out that we want. If we look in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we can also see that the entire D-pad controls the weapon system of the aircraft, as each of the weapons that you take up to a maximum of 4 will take up one direction, with the left always being your standard missiles. One of the D-pad directions can be left open because of our ability to take up multiple of the same weapon type. In turn, this stacks the special munitions, allowing us to carry a larger quantity, but also fire more of them per volley. So for example, carrying 2 sets of UGBL on the F-14 will allow us to drop 4 bombs instead of 2. The first mission is now over, and it gets to end with a spectacle as we drop one final bomb down and... that is a big explosion. It wasn't expected and leaves our AWACS galaxy a little bit confused. We should cover some of the story before getting into the second mission, however, as there are 3 key things to point out. Project Wingman takes place on our Earth, just one that has undergone a lot of physical changes. This is because of the Ring of Fire, which is a horseshoe ring of volcanoes with locations like Yellowstone. These volcanoes were exposed to cordium, which caused an extinction level event called the Calamity, which then blotted out the sun, leading to an ice age called the Long Cold, causing fissures to open up worldwide, and when everything settled and humanity rebuilt itself, the world had permanently changed. The area that the game primarily focuses on is the west coast of North America and this strip of land known as Cascadia. It is rich in geothermal resources, and originally Cascadia was part of the Federation, but after the Federation began to conquer the lands around it by force, Cascadia would seek independence, which would begin the Cascadian conflict where we are now. However, we are out of work, and flipping burgers for $7.25 an hour doesn't sound like something that we want to do, so instead we are flying towards Cascadia, where we come across a Federation patrol while we are about to join the Cascadians. Feeling like committing high treason for the day, we turn around and attack the patrol that is following us. Things do go pretty well during this, even though our aircraft is way out of date to be fighting against the F-15s that they do have. We still managed to take them down, and honestly, it wasn't that hard. The planes handled so smoothly that dogfighting feels very fluid in this game. But then they send more planes and an AWACS, but Galaxy is the only AWACS that deserves to be in the sky, so we pick them off rather quickly. The Federation then sends out one last weapon to try and stop us, the Latoria class air battlecruiser, and it is a state-of-the-art cordium-powered gunship, and they will take a serious amount of firepower to take down. Or a bomb. Remember that the F4 that we start with has UGBL, and the explosion of said bombs is large enough that at most 2 bombs are needed to destroy it. This ended up leaving one poor flanker all by himself flying around. As a reward, we are given a temporary base, but the rent is too high for our mercenaries as they are asking for $5,500 a month plus utilities for a single hangar, so we go off to seek ourselves a new home. Rosdower Air Force Base seems to be a perfect base for us to take over. It is in the frigid Arctic, so we don't have to worry about the heat wave, but we can also scavenge every single weapon and aircraft that the enemy leaves behind. So we take our not Phantom into the Arctic to do a little bit of capture the flag, where we are introduced to another enemy and one that we will be seeing a lot of in the game. The Humble Battleship and Cruiser. Now, unlike other games, these boats may take an extra set of munitions to take out, as the actual damage point for the ship is marked with an X, making it semi-invulnerable until other parts are taken out. Some weapons like railguns can bypass this entirely. For some reason, the airbase seems to have forgotten how to use its defenses, as we were barely shot at while actively attacking their base. This has just made things far more easier for us, but they aren't just going to let us march in and set up shop in their base, so they deployed the crosstalk team to defend the base. These aces are considered boss fights, as Project Wingman will tell you their exact health on the screen at the bottom of it. It is a good feature as it will take out the guessing games, letting the player know exactly how close they are to defeating them. A great thing that is reminiscent of the older Ace combat games is the fact that the other pilots you are flying with are actually adept at dealing damage, but not too strong to where they can be overly relied on, but strong enough to feel like they are helping out. Crosstalk eventually goes down, and now we have captured Rosdower, where we'll be starting a lot of our missions for a majority of the game. Seeing as the next mission has a direct cast focus, we will select the Frogfoot with an assorted set of weaponry. This includes the very fun to use salvo fire weaponry such as triple volley bombs or burst fire rockets, which are so much fun to use, giving the same impactful feeling as the Ace Combat 6 RCL. We do also have to do a little bit of dogfighting in the Su-25, which is just like the A-10. Just because the aircraft is not directly built for dogfighting doesn't mean that it's going to be bad at it. Now all that's left to do is just clean up the last few targets and fly back home. But we barely get time to rest before being sent to the capital of Cascadia. The city is known as Presidia, where it is shown that the Cascadian Independent Forces are not having a very good time with the war. The CIF are now retreating from the capital, and we are tasked with protecting them from the various aircraft that the enemy has dispatched against them. This is also the mission where you can unlock and use a rather unique aircraft. Since the game is made by an independent team, they had a Kickstarter reward for 1500 AUD, where a backer could choose an aircraft that they want put into the game. That person chose the CR-105, which is based off the CF-105 Avro Arrow, and allows you to fly one of the rarest Canadian jets in history. Of course, the feds will summon their fleet of aerial battleships once again, and you know how that goes. Now we are sent off to stop the enemy's cordium supply from getting out of hand, because you know the last thing we want is for them to develop weapons with it. We are off to bomb the extraction facilities, which is pretty fun, and if one is smart enough and remembers how bombs work in most Ace Combat styled games, the explosions will go through walls, so a well-placed UGBL will destroy the extractors without having to fly into the ventilation systems. Now we get to meet someone that is very important to the story as another Ace squadron shows up. Meet Crimson Team. They are dangerous, aggressive, and surprisingly, they aren't invincible during this mission. Now there are two paths that you get to go down. One is to just run away like we do here, because of the fact that it's a lot easier and we are just trying to get to the next mission alive. However, if you damage one of them enough, you get a special bit of dialogue where everyone thinks that it is luck that you managed to drive them off. But both allies and enemies are a little bit awestruck that you could even come that close to shooting down Crimson Team.
Before they get any funny ideas. What the hell, Monarch? Since when do you fight like that? Must have missed that class back in the academy. Now let's go while we have the window. Monarch, unless you're planning on dying alone out there, RTB ASAP.
One of the things about Project Wingman that I will personally commend the development team for is the variation in the environments that you get to fight in. While most of them are close to the ocean, there are enough minor variations that it feels like a proper world that you are getting to fight in. In this mission, there is a lightning storm which, despite giving me Yinshi Valley flashbacks, cannot actually hit your aircraft. But the clouds are lower to the water than normal. This can cause a hilarious amount of panic at times, as diving through the clouds, which are thick, will have the chance of your aircraft becoming the world's most expensive spearfishing gig. In terms of the actual objective, the Cascadian forces have managed to steal a prototype Federation battleship called the Eminent Domain. Of course, the enemy doesn't want you just commandeering their boat, so they are trying to sink it. I do like this mission quite a bit, as it is diving from the pretty blue skies above into the clouds down into the war zone, where it can actually make your radar look like you are playing a Toho game instead of a fun flight arcade game. And the mission itself isn't all that difficult, as the final part just has you defending the ship from some bombers that are flying in, shooting anti-ship missiles. It is a really fun mission, but now we should get on to the next mission. Now this mission does have a gimmick that will make you fail, for you see, in a grand moment of clarity, the Federation has decided that their massive aerial battleships also make for very good civilian transports. So personally, I would recommend against using multi-lock missiles in this fight, since you'll be fighting against the lock-on, and sometimes it will make you feel like this.
I'm completely and mentally stable. Oh, hey, look, a civilian airliner. Do it. You know you want to do it. Lock it. Just do it. Just lock onto that civilian airliner. Come on, just do it. Do it now. Just do it. Lock it. Just do it. Come on, just do it. Do it.
After raising my blood pressure out of sheer anxiety for having to restart the mission, because when I say that Project Wingman was influenced by older Ace combats, those creature comforts of checkpoints, you don't get any. You die or mess up, restart the entire mission from the beginning, even if it was one of the longest missions that you've ever done. Thankfully, the next mission is quite a bit less stressful, as it is just a nighttime raid on a radar facility. Despite being in the mountains, this one does not have an altitude limit, with the all-seeing eyes of God throwing missiles at you, or a canyon for you to fly through, so it's pretty relaxed. If you bring Prez with you during this mission, which I've brought her for every single mission in the game, we get some unique dialogue with Galaxy that lets us know that Monarch, Diplomat, and Comic all have known each other for a very long time. I get that it seems like we hate each other, but that is genuinely how best friends are, and sometimes the dialogue between Prez, Dip, and Comic feels just like that. Three friends who fell down the same path. You can make fun of each other, you can say that you hate each other at the end of the day, but you know by that day's end, you've got each other's back, and if anybody threatens any of your friends, you are going to end them. Now we shift from attacking a radar array in the middle of the night to attacking a radar array in the middle of the desert during the day, as one way to silence the enemy is to take out their ability to see you even coming towards them. This mission also features two failure conditions. The first one is to protect the ground forces from both aerial and ground threats. Letting too many of them die will end the mission, with the aerial attack forces being a bigger threat to the ground forces than the actual tanks are, which is kinda strange. The other is advancing too far ahead of the assault forces. And yes, at first this will make the map extremely small, but as the mission updates, you'll get more breathing room, and that does make it feel like you're actually in the middle of an advancing fight, and it really just makes me want a game where we can run Wild Weasel operations more often. And honestly, the mission isn't that hard even when the enemy shows up with their airships once again.
Hostiles considered no factor. Ground units confirmed.
Now comes one of the prettiest missions in all of Project Wingman. You remember the reason why people love Ace Combat 6, right? One of the major visual elements to its battlefields and modern dogfighting is contrails and smoke trails for the missiles. The mission known as the Cold War, which I think is very much not cold at this point, features a full-on furball between Cascadian and Federation forces, and visually the amount of smoke trails during and after the fight is a spectacle. This is combined with an amazing soundtrack from Jose Pavley, which honestly just has so many good songs in it. You could praise the entire soundtrack for this game alone. Of course, you can't have a massive dogfight without our good friend Crimson One showing up, and things do not go great for him. And this is also where I'd like to point out a detail that is in the actual game. Normally, Hitman Team will form up on your wing as usual when a mission ends. However, when Crimson Team shows up, all of the allied forces, Stardust, Kaiser, any of the ones that are in the area will form up on your wing as well, as if to say that now Hitman Team is the lead of the entire resistance of the Cascadian forces.
We've got inbound. Pop up bandit group of them 230. Looks like they pulled back for one last push. There's a lot of them. IFF confirmed. Federation Peacekeeping Squadron Crimson identified with more reinforcements. This is it. Ah, shit.
He ends up losing a majority of his team, which forces the Federation to signal for a retreat, which doesn't go over very well with him. But we don't have to worry about how much we hurt Crimson One's feelings, as right now we have to investigate an Icarus Armory experimental facility where they are producing experimental fighters that can be used by the Federation. So our investigation turns very quickly into just leveling the entire facility, which doesn't go over well with one of the mercenaries that is currently stationed there. So in order to protect the facility and the aircraft that are in it, they send up a female pilot with a comically thick French-European accent with the call sign Frost Druid. I love the voice acting in this game, honestly. It is a great treat, and honestly, it makes me just love the characters in the game a whole lot more. Now we get to see the first of the two superplanes in this game. This is the Spear, and it looks very reminiscent of a certain technology we have seen elsewhere, considering the coffin-like appearance of its canopy. It also can't carry any form of missiles for some reason. Instead, it relies on the pilot's skills, an absurd amount of gun pods, and a railgun. It is precise but nimble, a true glass cannon of an aircraft. Frost is a good boss fight, but not one that I would classify as overly hard or dangerous. The next mission is just pure fun, as it is a bombing raid on the Federation's Airship Task Force 1, which, considering we know the weakness of airships, the Federation has now lost a lot of their airships and is doing a hasty retreat, in which they have lit forest fires to cover their retreat. Thanks guys, as if it wasn't annoying enough to deal with them in real life, now you're going to make it hard to breathe in the game too. We protect the hard, brave working firefighters as they seek to quell the fires, which means that the Federation forces are losing so badly that they are resorting to scorched earth tactics. Our mounting victories pushes the Federation back to the city of Prospero, in which there are no enemies listed as a priority during this mission, so we just take things at our own pace. At least our assault is successful, and now we have captured the city of Prospero. Oh, the enemy is now firing wave after wave of cruise missiles, which we are tasked with shooting down. These contain cordium warheads, and if they hit the ground, this mission leaves us feeling hopeless. No matter what we do, no matter how many missiles we shoot down, the ending is all the same. The world is left in shambles, the ground is glassed, and we are left retreating to Rosdower.
Doesn't look like much of a home anymore, huh? No reason to touch down and get our stuff. I should be close enough to transmit now. Breaking gravity for a second. Rosauer, this is Galaxy. Transmit on any frequency on this range to signal that you're alive. Come on, I'd rather not in here in a graveyard. Getting visual. More than that, getting contact.
But we don't get a break, as all those feats that we have performed and the accolades we have obtained have made us a prime target for other mercenaries that are wanting to pick up the scraps. Now we have to fend off Frost Druid and Mother Goose Squadron. They have leaked our mercenary identities to the world, and now are wanting to make sure that we never get to take off again. They have also upgraded their equipment, as they have obtained an experimental fighter, the XPF, and also 5 F-15S fighters, which are equipped with their AOA limiters, and they will use them. That makes this fight visually chaotic. Thankfully, the fight itself isn't that difficult, and once they are downed, we get a moment of respite and a chance to learn that Kaiser had actually survived the initial explosions, and now there are just plans to leave the entire area, get out of mercenary work entirely, but Stardust intercepts us and this cutscene plays out.
We've had a really, really bad day, Stardust. You'd be making a big mistake if you told us to stay. You know that?
Listen to the lady. She's got rank on you, if you remember who she is.
Quite frankly, Major Lund, I don't give a damn who you are. And I understand. You don't want to be here. That's as true today as it was when you, Hitman, left Cascadia the first time, right?
You don't know a lick about us.
You're on our ride out of here. Either pay to come with us or go. Whatever you do, don't waste our time.
If I may make Cascadia's case. You're still contracted to Cascadia, Sicario. You have a bargain to fulfill, and quite frankly, you're worth more to us now than ever.
Look outside. You think there's a Cascadia left?
It looks worse than it is, promise. My countrymen are scattering to safe zones to shelter in place. We'll return soon enough after this hell passes. When we do, we'll need your help.
Me and my soldiers don't fight losing wars.
This war will not be lost. Not with all of you still remaining.
All of us? What do you mean? Sicario has been nearly wiped.
Perhaps. But for a man of your boss's particular persuasion, Cascadia will offer you this to rebuild.
There's nothing you can offer to get me to die for a lost cause. The Earth itself opened up to fight you. Don't you understand that? Jesus Christ.
Is that enough? Is that everything you want?
A mission?
Orders, and what you need to carry it out. Go to the periphery and bring back everyone who can fight beneath your banner. For all Cascadia knows, you can just take this and run away with it, never to return. But we put our trust in you to come back with the cavalry. If not, well, I guess you'll just be the low-life mercenary that turned away when history needed him most.
You really are that desperate, aren't you? We'll see.
We won't. We have targets on the back of our head. People will come hunting us. I don't care what Kaiser does, because it doesn't involve us.
You three are our best pilots. Cascadia will protect you when this war has ended.
You're a fool for even trying to promise that. We aren't for sale. We're leaving. Go ahead and lose this war. This is your grave. Lie in it.
And you think running will be any better for you? The Federation has got your number. And as far as I can tell, Cascadia is the only shot all of you have for living out the rest of your lives.
Send them for all I care. We're dead men walking.
Damn it, listen to yourself, woman! Even if me and Monarch let you carry out this death wish of yours, we'll still be caught up with it. Stardust here, at least it sounds like he has an alternative.
Correct.
What's that?
Why don't you take a look first, Commander Franken?
What the hell? It's not for me.
Come on, man, what is it?
Take a look for yourselves.
Is that what I think it is? Oh, shit.
You pull through for us, I will give you more than your freedoms, your lives. It'll be like as if the last 20 years never happened for you. You can have your new start, or continue your life as it is right now. But this, it'll let you do that. You'll be free. You can do whatever you want. Cascadia owes you to have this.
This deal. If we make it, if you give us this, nothing goes back to normal.
It's better than nothing. Hell, a whole lot better than nothing. Galaxy, you stick around with Hitman. They'll need you. I'll go out of country for a bit. Gather up an army.
Oh, come on. What the hell? Why do I get to stay?
Because I own you still. That and you'll do more good here as I go recruit.
You'll stay in country. Continue the fight. Keep us above ground.
Well, we'll need a base for that. Rosedower is about to be swallowed.
We're working on it. Options are slim at the moment, but...
There's a highway that never got the funds it needed out by the Daner Valleys. My dad saw to that. I know how Cascadian infrastructure bills were. The section should still be there.
Aye. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Lead the way?
You're still full of surprises, Peter.
I aim to entertain.
Well, that's it then. Hitman, I'll be seeing you.
Hitman, find your place and stand by. If those highways you say are good, we'll be sending more pilots your way to support. When the orders come down, you better be up to it.
He shows us some sort of gift that would help us restart our lives. We don't know exactly what it is. It could be DDR5 RAM, it could be Cordium, but it could also just be a way for us to have new identities. 2 months have now passed since the Ring of Fire has reopened in what is called the second Cordium Calamity event, and now in order to gain our freedom, we are tasked with taking out the forces that are holed up in the Bright Fortress in order to regain the offensive against the Federation. This mission does show how weary Hitman team is of the war. They are only staying in the fight because of the deal struck with the Cascadian government in the recent revealing of their identities. Even Prez doesn't like the terms of this deal. After the forces in the fortress are wiped out, the enemy deploys 2 land battleships, which I think a nation in a strange but real place has taken notes of, and this is how quickly that threat was taken care of. Yeah, the design isn't that great, as a lot of the subsystems are clustered together in a way that one bomb could just wipe out most of them. It is a cool fight still at the end of the day, and especially when they start firing the railguns and stuff at you, it gets visually chaotic. But honestly, it's not that hard if you just carry a few UGBLs. Now that the enemy knows that we are still alive and wanting to fight, we strike once again at the city of Prospero, which now you can see the devastation of the Cordium missiles right up close. And it is pretty impactful as it shows really how powerful these weapons are. But we can ignore that for now, as we are here to capture the city and use it as a base for the final attack on Presidia, and that goes rather well for us. That is, as long as you aren't me using the AOA limiter for the first time in the playthrough, which does not go well, as flipping 180 degrees in the middle of a fight when you have no speed is a good way to eat a few missiles, especially when Crimson Team starts to show up once again. On the second attempt, we bring Prez back with us in the old Tomcat. During the fight against Crimson Team, we actually hear Dip have a meltdown, which is rare since our team normally has a rather cool and level head, but stress gets to everyone. Crimson 1 is finally vanquished, going down in a fireball, and we will never see him again ever. Totally. Once again, we have to protect the eminent domain, as over the radio, the captain calls out in a vain attempt to channel his inner Nicanor to get the enemy to stand down, but as we know, this is going to turn into a sea of chaos.
This is Captain Wingman of the Cascadian Force, eminent domain to all remaining Federation surface vessels.
Ship after ship is sunk down with their fighter escorts following in suit. Just after the eminent domain targets the Daeonis, the remainder of the Federation's first battle group arrives to engage the rebel forces, and when all hope seems lost, Kaiser has returned with not only his own squadron, but a ton of mercenaries, and with a little bit of struggle, they would help clean up the rest of the first battle group, which surprised everyone. Now that the dust has settled, there are no Federation ships to stop the formation of a blockade that might get blockaded in the future. But here we are with the final assault on the capital of Presidia. This is the penultimate mission that actually starts with a very good speech from our commander. Now, the way that this mission takes form is a series of objectives that open up once the previous one is completed, and they are as follows. Clearing out ground forces that are not only attacking our own ground forces, but our air forces. Obtaining air superiority over a portion of the capital. Making sure that the rest of their naval forces are nothing more than just a reef at the bottom of the ocean. Taking out their air defenses nestled into the sides of skyscrapers. Why skyscrapers? We do not know, because that is going to turn into an international situation. Once those are taken care of, we are given an order to stand down, and now there is an active ceasefire, which I agree with this voice line from Dip. Like we were just fighting not even a few minutes ago, you can't expect everyone to get the order instantly and agree with it on both sides. But even though now that there is a ceasefire and peace is being worked on, there is a new signature and the thermal output is rising. Something is approaching when the screen will flash white. He has returned, the one we shot down. He has come back with a vengeance, and Crimson One wants to see us dead. This time he is flying the Project Wingman 1 or PW-1. This is the more advanced version of the XPF that Frost was flying in an earlier mission. Solely our fault. He is trying to gaslight us, isn't he? Like, come on, buddy, we aren't the one that just wiped out probably thousands of innocent people just because we got slapped in the air by some random mercenary. Prez will also go offline and silent after the first phase with a simple apology. As you can tell, this fight against Crimson One is a multi-stage fight, similar to the way that Pixie's fight works in Zero, except for that he installed some sort of cooldown modification on his aircraft, as he is managing to rapidly fire his railgun when I have to wait about 15 to 20 seconds for its cooldown. In the third phase of the fight, he will start to fill the air with burst missiles that look like the Halo 3 kill ball for some reason. I don't know why, but I guess it just makes you want to avoid them. And they also have a delay before they actually, activate, which makes them look even more like the Halo 3 kill ball in a way, just transparent. But he also will use an ADMM-like projectile. Eventually, we whittle down his health bar to now where we have a health bar at the bottom of the screen. For the first time, we actually get to see our name at the bottom of the screen. And during this final stage, he will make the sky look like a Toho fight, with the amount of railgun shots and burst missiles going off. One thing I have to say though is the aesthetic of this fight is peak. The world is gone silent. It's just you and him, the screen is darkened, and now all that remains is to take down Crimson One through a volley of burst missiles and railgun shots. You're just flying in some regular old aircraft, especially if you take the F-14. It's just literally old man screaming at person that's flying Cold War jet with his advanced prototype and losing. Even when you shoot down Crimson One finally, he gives you one last dramatic speech. Now the war is actually over, and good news is that your wingman actually survived Crimson One's attacks, but also we will be able to get the peace that we desire as Cascadia is in ruins, but the deal will be honored. The war is won, and that ends Project Wingman's story. There are quite a few other things to talk about before we get into the conclusion. There is a conquest game mode that offers up a unique bit of gameplay. The goal is to capture all 43 territories from the Pacific Federation by playing a series of missions that slowly become harder and harder as the player progresses through the alert gauge mechanic. Completing missions will reward players with credits and sometimes cordium, which will allow the player to purchase new and more powerful aircraft, and even hire allies and airships to assist them in battle. It is also a permadeath game mode, so if you die, you start from the beginning all over again, and it gets rather tough, requiring the PW Mark I and quick completions later on. There's also the ability to use modifiers in a secondary playthrough of the game, which honestly I do like, because one of the struggles I've always had with Ace Combat is that in repeat playthroughs is often just playing these same missions over and over again, but with less damage resistance and even better aircraft. But with the modifiers, you can make every enemy an ace, so they use the AI from teams like Crimson and Mother Goose, making them far stronger and more evasive. Or maybe you want to deal more damage but make the enemy feel more threatening, so you add on Glass Cannon. Or maybe you want the enemy to use special weapons as well, so you toss on Botched Requisition. It really feels like you're adding skulls in a game like Halo at the end of the day, and it enhances the game in a secondary playthrough, and it can make challenge runs extremely fun or extremely frustrating. There's also a DLC called Frontline 59, which almost acts like a separate game, so I'll be covering that in its own shorter video later on, probably in the next couple weeks or so. But for now, let's get on to the conclusion of the video. So, Project Wingman in itself, in my opinion, is a nearly perfect game. Sure, there's a little bit of jank here and there may be some things missing, but it isn't something that completely ruins the entire experience of the game. And with Ace Combat 8 having specs that feels like it will take a supercomputer to run, honestly, just play Project Wingman for a little bit. It's $20, the game takes up very little space, it runs very well despite being on Unreal Engine, and plays like an evolution of the Ace Combat formula. And the best part is that unless Sector D2 decides to pull the game down for some reason, you don't have to worry about the game becoming unobtainium, or then you'll have to go hunting on a third-party website for a chance to get a working key. It really is just a proper love letter to Ace Combat made by a group with clear passion, and like I said, 3 people worked on the game with one really good composer, and in total managed to make an experience that, while it started out small and hollow at first, literally became a game that is so charming that it competes with what a fully established studio has made. Plus, the game comes with a pretty good soundtrack. Like, honestly, you cannot sing the praises of it enough. It tickles your ears in the background of the gameplay, never dominating or drowning out the sounds of the world, but instead it adds emotion, energy, and in the case of a song like Kings, fear. It makes you feel like you're against someone chaotic and not in the right mind. Also, I mentioned that I do love Prez. There's something about having her voice break up the normal sounds of combat that is refreshing, and she also gives a little bit of lore and a little bit of extra dialogue that does piece things together a little bit more. And I actually found myself bringing along 2-seater fighters throughout most of the game, especially the F-14, as I just liked having her with me because it was just an extra voice, and it's something that we've never heard before in any of the Ace Combat games. One of the things I'd like to say though, especially with the fact that this video is far shorter than my Ace Combat reviews,
So that was a fucking lie.
is that the game doesn't overstay its welcome at all. The missions are all rather short, with some of them lasting less than 15 minutes at the time, and there isn't any quota missions that extend the playtime to 30-40 minutes for a single mission, with the player being forced to fly around in circles because they beat the objective that quickly, or any bosses that mysteriously can dodge every single missile that you shoot at them. It honestly plays about the same time as an Ace Combat 4 playthrough, being around about 4 or 5 hours for a complete playthrough. There is also no multiplayer PvP or co-op, which is understandable. Having a component that is pretty expensive to run and may be shut down at any time in the future isn't something that screams traditional Ace Combat, even though the Conquest mode would be so much fun with a few friends playing together. So that is Project Wingman, and this is where I'd like to say thank you to all that have supported the channel as of recently. We have exploded and grown. It's honestly surprising to me, but members can get access to this little badge right here that signifies that you have become a true ace, and is only $2 a month to gain it, with emotes coming in the future. And next up on the chopping block is a short video about Frontline 59, as I mentioned earlier, Ace Combat Assault Horizon, but also a game I have never heard of before. But until then, keep looking towards the dark blue skies, and peace.